But I always tell people to this very, very day, you can have a disability, but you don't have to be disabled.
Come on.
I think that so many people today spend so much time outside of themselves. In other words, trying to be like someone else or imitating someone else. I
Yeah.
thank God that I had a chance to really spend a lot of time with myself. So I knew
Mm.
what my disabilities was, and I knew exactly where I was. But once I addressed that disability, the door was wide open for me just to soar. So I want to be candid on our interview here, and I'm speaking from my heart. You know, speaking as a man of color, that we were not brought here on the Nina or the Pinta or the Santa Maria. We were brought here in the holds of slave ships.
Yes.
And when we got here, our names, our culture, our God was taken away from us. That's the smoothest robbery ever committed.
Welcome to A Better You podcast. Let's start today to develop a better you. This podcast takes on life's challenges and obstacles, such as overcoming addictions, behaviors.
Welcome to the ABU, A Better You podcast. I'm excited to be with you again, and I am excited about the guest that I have today. As you know, my assignment is to challenge people to grow, develop, evolve into the individuals that God has created them to be so that they can fulfill their purpose on the mountain that they have been called to. And so with that, I have a very dear friend and brother who is winning on his mountain, and I'm bringing him on the Genius Lab to share with you how he's winning. He's also my partner, my brother, and he's an executive chief officer in the organization that we're in the insurance industry. And so I'm excited to have him on with us today. Help me welcome to the Genius Lab, Mr. Rory Douglas.
Well, how you doing there, my brother?
My brother, I am doing extremely well. I'm blessed to have you on with me today. Of course, you and I, we've known each other for over 30 years.
Yes.
So I know you, and I'm also happy to be in business with you as you have been on a mission to impact people's lives, educate families all over the United States, Canada, Hawaii. So want you share with people how you became to be the world-renowned financial gentleman?
Well, I will start off by saying I was in school. I was most likely not to succeed. I got kicked out of every elementary school, every junior high school, and every high school. I was labeled a troubled youth.
Wow.
However, I knew at an early age I was a gifted youth, but I had a disability that set me back, and that was called dyslexia. I was reading things backwards. So I really wasn't a bad student. I got kicked out of all of those schools because when the teacher had assignments, whenever the teacher articulated what he or she wanted to say, I could listen to what they had to say, and I nailed it. I knew everything. And the teachers were really frustrated, saying, you know what, you're such a smart guy. Why you keep on messing up? What's the problem? What's bothering you? However, at a young age, I was a taller guy. So when I was in class, I was taller than most of the other students. So, you know, I had a lot of fear inside of me because of that disability. I knew something was wrong when I was reading things. And whenever there was open book or tests, I had to have an excuse to get out of the class. So by any means, I would do whatever it had to take, even if it was throwing over a drawer rather, or a table, or pushing a student, whatever I had to do to get out of the class to run away from my fear. But it wasn't until I was about 16 years old. My mother, she's my mentor. She worked 3 jobs to take care of me and my brothers and sisters. That's my mentor. And my mom always was in a rush. And one day we're in the car going down the road, and my mom was trying to get somewhere, and she says, hey, read those instructions for me. And I tried to do the same thing I would normally do. but I couldn't do it because I was in the car with her. And my mother, she's a strong woman. So when she said, "You better," she really,
Right.
and I was like, okay, I got to try to read them. So I tried to read them, and she knew something was wrong. So my mom, I looked at her face; she could tell something was wrong. So she took me back to the school, talked to the counselors and stuff. They tested me, and they found out that I had something that was called dyslexia. I was reading things backwards. So I received help and treatment for my disability. But I always tell people to this very, very day, you can have a disability, but you don't have to be disabled.
Come on.
I see people today that have disabilities do more than people who have everything intact.
Right. All their faculties. Right.
Yes, exactly. So when I received help, I overcame my disability. And then I went back to school and I started getting straight A's. And school was real boring for me. I did a little college, but it's very boring. So I had always had the entrepreneur spirit inside of me. When I had a paper route, I had the #1 paper route. When I had I was selling lemonade and refreshment drinks, #1 stand. So everything I did, I was #1. Even when I was bagging groceries at the store, I went from bagging groceries to becoming the store manager. So everywhere I went, I started from the bottom to the top. And I will say this to say this. I will say this. This is really important. I think that so many people today spend so much time outside of themselves. In other words, trying to be like someone else or imitating someone else.
Yeah.
I thank God that I had a chance to really spend a lot of time with myself. So I knew what my disabilities was, and I knew exactly where I was. But once I addressed that disability, the door was wide open for me just to soar. So everywhere I went, like I said, I worked a lot of jobs in terms of retail.
I got to cut you off just for a second because I don't want people to miss what you just said, because you really dropped a nugget. And if people aren't careful, they'll miss the nugget that you dropped. And I want to bring some light on your disability. And you said you had come to realize that your disability does not have to be what again?
You don't have to be disabled when you have a disability.
You don't have to be disabled when you have a disability. And I like to say it like this. One of the things that I've learned as I have studied, I'm a counselor as well as a coach, and that is your disability can be your very superpower. And most people, they when you have a disability, they mark you. They count you out. But God knew what he was doing when he created you. And so I'd like to say a lot of people with disabilities have an ingenious mark. And that's part of the reason why you're in this genius lab, because there's a genius, you're a genius. And oftentimes common people cannot see the genius in creative, witty, special people. And so that is so good what you shared. And I think that's a message for everyone. Don't allow your disability to force you into a realm of fear where it really cripples you from being the best version of who God created you to be. I think a lot of it just has to do with self-discovery, discovering the greatness that's on the inside of you, because we have more right with us than there is wrong with us. So I just wanted to highlight that.
If you can just imagine how good of an actor you could be when you have to act like you're stable in an environment where you're not. I learned how to be the greatest actor in my life. I had to be around people with a disability, acting like I don't have it and just getting around it. And even though I had a disability, I still outshine people by getting around it. That's why it's important that you spend time with yourself.
Yes.
Really, really important that you spend time with yourself, because most people, they spend more time outside of themselves than with themselves. So I thank God that he allowed me to have that disability, because it made me who I am to this very day. So I use my disability as my superpower.
You were able to discover the treasure of the greatness of who you are. Now you're walking in it, of course, but powerful. Awesome. So again, you then get on this path. Now, again, I know you. So when we met, you were in the entertainment industry,
Yes.
and you were a president of a record company, owner of a record company when we met. And I
Yes.
remember you were in a season of transition when we met some years ago. Actually, we re-met because
Yes.
I knew you in the life before.
Right.
When we
In
used to
afterlife.
right, party all the time,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know. And so bring us up to date how you went from the entertainment industry to the financial industry.
Wow. The entertainment industry is very interesting because a good friend of mine's was inside of the entertainment industry, and his name is Melvin Johnson. And I was pretty much his mentor. We worked together at the same retail store. And he used to always tell me, he says, man, you're so smart. He goes, I think that if you get involved with what I'm getting involved in, he said, you could do really well in it. So I heard what he said, but I didn't pay it any attention. I kept on working in the retail industry. And he started to excel in that area. And he left the retail industry and he became a part of a management company. He was doing very well. And one day he reached back and said, hey, listen, I'm about to go on tour. And I know that, you love music, and I was telling you can do good. I can actually pay you, but I can pay you, but it's just for a short period of time, just for a few weeks. So that was my opportunity to get into the music industry. So I went to my then supervisor at that particular time and asked to see if I can get those days off, and at least 2 weeks. And my supervisor said, I can't give you 2 weeks off, even though I had it in my sick pay. But
Right.
he would not let me take it off. He says, listen,
Right.
If I let you take 2 weeks, and we really need you, because I was good at what I did.
Right.
And he says, I can give you a week. And I had to make a judgment whether or not if I was going to go on this tour,
Yeah.
or just miss the opportunity. So what I did was I said, you know what? I can go on the tour and do it for a week. If I don't like it, I can always come back.
Right.
So I told my friend, I said, okay. But I had in my mind, if I get on this tour, if it doesn't work right, I'm on the first train coming back.
Right.
So I got on the tour and I never looked back. I got on the tour as an intern. And when I got on that tour, I was labeled from a very prominent person in the music industry. I can't say the name right now,
Right.
but a prominent person. He labeled me the go-to guy because every time anyone asked me to do something, I did it.
You made it
I was
happen.
just full of energy. Whatever
Yeah.
it was, I did it. And they start to talk about me on the tour. This guy, he's doing everything. We need a guy like this. So to make a long story short, the tour turned in from 2 weeks to 6 months. Never went back to the job.
Right.
Never looked back. And when I was on the tour, by serving coffee, because I know it's power in serving people. To this very,
Right.
very day, that's
right.
what it's all about. I'm looking to serve people. I'm just telling you, because wherever there's a problem, there is a promotion. I always tell people that.
Yes.
But I'm on this tour, to make a long story short, and I'm helping all of these people. I'm meeting artists along the way also too, artists that are just coming up and artists that was established. But being on that tour, I was hustling so hard that this attorney, I never forget him, his name is Joseph Gelman. He's not here anymore. But he said, man, have you ever thought about starting your own management company? And I said, I would love to have my own company, but I don't know anything about how to start a company. He said, well, I tell you what, if you're serious, here's my card. When you get off the tour, come see me. So
Wow.
when I got off the tour, I made my way to Beverly Hills, and that was intimidating, and sat in his office, and we had a conversation. And he said, hey, I like you. You got what it takes. I'm going to show you how to start your own management company. And not only that, we're going to start it together. I'm going to be a silent partner. I'm going to handle
Wow.
all of the business, but you're going to be the face. And I was so excited about that. But that's when the music industry was born inside of me. But to make a long story short, I went on a few world tours. I was part of Bobby Brown's management company, and we went on tours. And it led from that to managing a lot of artists that are known name artists. And I formed my management company. It was called RKD Music Management.
Right.
And my partner, his name was Joseph Gelman. And doing the music industry, I learned a lot, but also too, I suffered a lot. And that's how I got to the financial industry. Because when I was in the music industry, I was accomplishing a lot of things,
Right.
getting a lot of awards. And when it came down to the financial part of the business, when it was time to see what my cut was at the end of the year, I got a check that was so embarrassing. I said, I got the check and I was like, what is this? I told my partner, I said, hey, it must be a mistake. And he goes, no, it's not a mistake. And then what he did was he handed me a bunch of papers and he says, those are all of the expenses that you went through.
You racked up.
And I'm
Yeah.
looking at all these expensive, wait a minute, lunch, dinner. Oh, the shirts that we bought in New York, you charged me for those shirts? I thought you was buying those shirts for me. Everything was on a piece of paper. And at that point, brother, I learned that even though I'm doing business, I didn't understand business. So what I did was I used my superpower again. I reflected on my disability as a kid. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go and get every book I can get about the music industry, and I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
I tell you, I read books on the music industry anywhere between 6 to 8 months. I mean, religiously, just reading the books.
Yeah.
And I was so empowered by reading the books that the following year, I made a major profit. And I started to expand. And to make a long story short, the music industry shifted. It went from CDs to downloads. And at the time, we had a big music deal where we were getting 50% on all of the retail. So we had CDs in all of the Walmarts, the Best Buys, and Tower Records, that type of stuff. But the industry shift from CDs to downloads. So you're talking about a 50-50 split down to 99 cents.
Yeah.
So at that point, it wasn't a good business model. So I sold the music company to Universal Music Group. And to this very day, I get residuals and royalties on some of the things that I didn't sell. So I still get royalties from that. But I shifted from that to the gospel industry in music.
Right.
Because gospel CDs were not affected. So now we have CDs with gospel. Rolled that out for a while, met you with that.
Right, that's when we reconnected.
Yeah, and managed a lot of artists in gospel, did a lot of projects and in gospel, and very successful in that. And then gospel also too was attacked in terms of radio outlets. And it wasn't a good business model for me. So I got involved with film financing.
Hey, the whole industry went from Blockbuster to Netflix, you know.
So I got into film financing. When I got into film financing, a lot of success with film financing, pretty much investing in film. And after that, soundtracks. And then I went from that to what I'm going to do. Maybe I'm going to get into real estate. I had a little money saved. Should I get into real estate? What should I do? And at the time, a friend of mine said, have you ever thought about getting into the financial industry? And I was like, the financial industry? What do you mean financial industry? The financial industry. So he said, you know what? Why don't you come and I want you to talk to a few people. So I still remember the day that I went down to meet a few individuals. Her name is Rory. I went down to World Financial Group. It was a financial group. I had no knowledge of it. Being an insurance salesman, business, I went inside their office. They saw me going to the office. They looked at me. I was like some prey. I came in there dressed up. I was sharp and sat down and started talking to them. And they started to show me what they do. And they showed me what they did. And then they showed me the commission of how much they can make. And I looked at that and I said, wait a minute, you guys, you mean to tell me this is the type of revenue I can make to do this? They said, yes, I was made for it. So I signed up right on the spot. And then the rest became history.
Right. Wow. But now, you know, it's interesting how our lives parallel. I had a learning disability due to seizures.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
As a kid. And so I had to work hard to study, get decent grades. It was all the result of actually being at a skating ring and a boy pushing me down. I hit my head. And then that's what started grand mal seizures. And at that time, they didn't have a lot of medicines. But with that, yeah, I had to overcome a disability that I dealt with until I was about 21 years old, actually.
Wow.
And then I had, as a kid, I had a paper route. So I know the hustle, getting up early, throwing those papers, having that route, man,
Awesome on the front
and
door.
tossing them while you riding that bike, toss
Yeah,
that thing,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
And then you get in the groove when you're doing it. You get in the groove when you're doing it, and it's actually it has a little thrill to it because you're following a blueprint, which I'm sure we'll get to. But with that, then of course years later, come to California and get in the entertainment industry, and I had some highs and I had some lows, and I'll never forget, as you had already pointed out, when that guy went over that financial report with you, that when you think of music business, business is the longest word in music business. And most
Yes.
people don't know the business, but they like doing the music. They're excited about the music, but they have no knowledge of the business. And that's why you see a lot of artists today that came up in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, even the 2000s, that are broke because they didn't understand business. And managers and CEOs and execs,
And you hit the nail on the
they made
head
the money.
because it's about 85% of artists in the past have no royalties or nothing broke.
No royalties, broke, exactly. And the same thing started to happen in the film industry. It's actually going on right now. I have some credits and some things I did in the film industry as well as recording, but I never really hit a level of success, to have my own project. I was always kind of a supporting cast on different platforms or in the studio with very popular people. But with that, it's now been what, 11 years since you got into the financial.
Almost 12 years.
12 years. And in the past 3 years, you became the financial gentleman, which everybody knows you on social media as. How did that happen?
Well, that happened actually by default. I'll tell you why, because by me understanding my superpower and studying everything that I did along the way, I took the same concept in the financial industry. So, but it was boots on the ground. In other words, everywhere I went, I was talking about finance.
Yeah.
And then, in my own home, my kids and everybody, they got tired of me always talking about finance. So one day my daughter said to me, she says, Dad, why don't you put some of your videos on TikTok? I said, no, I'm from the old school. I'm not putting my videos on TikTok. That's an entertainment channel.
Right.
And I'm not doing that. Well, why don't you do it on your platforms? You still got a MySpace. That stuff is outdated. So I rejected her. And one day I was on the computer talking to one of my clients. And after I got to talking to the client, I was encouraging the client on what steps to take and what to do. And unbeknownst to me, my daughter was filming it. And she put a certain part of it on TikTok. And then I never forget this. I was sitting at the table, I was eating something, and my daughter came up to me with this face like, ooh, you better look at this. You better look at this. She almost scared me. Like, what? Look at what?
Yeah.
She got her phone in her hand. And
Yeah.
she said, you're viral. You're viral. I'm like, did I catch a disease or something? What are you talking about? So she said, you're viral. So she showed me, and I'm like, what is this? How did you get my picture? Dad, I hate to say it, but I had to just tape that, what you were saying. And I put a little part on it. And I looked, and it was like 1 million hits. I said, 1 million hits. And she says, look what the people are saying. So she went in the comments, and it was just rows and rows of comments. And at that time, I got an aha moment. I said, wow. I said, this is the kind of result we can get from just being on the internet.
Yeah.
And as of that day, man, I just pretty much sold out to getting on social media, spreading financial education. And I've learned from coming from the old school that word of mouth is always going to be the best form of marketing. but I pretty much coined social media word of mouth is now the best form of marketing.
Yeah.
So I used that and it turned into a major platform. And right now, over 100 million views on social media.
Wow. Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
But it all started with one.
Yeah.
And I really want to say this because I want to encourage people, especially when I talk to people, that all it takes is one in your life.
That's
It was
good.
one moment that someone discovered the gift in me when I was out there in that music industry.
Yes.
It was one moment when I walked in the office of the financial industry and talked to people, they discovered that gift. And I want to encourage other people, all it takes is one.
All it
All
takes
it takes is one video to change your life. All it takes is one relationship to change your life. All it takes is one person to change your life.
Yes. In one moment can be your tipping point. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, this month I am acknowledging and interviewing men who are making a difference in our communities, in the world at large. And that's a part of the reason, as you know, why I actually have you on this month. We started the podcast a month ago, but I was waiting to have you because I consider you to be a phenomenal man, phenomenal businessman, family man, father. You're a great man, and I'd like for you to share now your message regarding finance, which has reached millions of viewers. Why is it important that people get the financial education they need to build family legacy? Why is that so important? They start getting the information needed to build the life, the future life that they so desire.
Well, I want to be candid on our interview here, and I'm speaking from my heart. You know, speaking as a man of color, that we were not brought here on the Nina or the Pinta or the Santa Maria. We were brought here in the holds of slave ships.
Yes.
And when we got here, our names, our culture, our God was taken away from us. That's the smoothest robbery ever committed.
Yes.
So we've never been taught the true science of finance. I broke that generational curse in my family. So right now, as we speak, and we can learn a lot from other groups. Like, for instance, I love my Jewish brothers and sisters.
Right.
But in the Jewish community, the dollar bill turns about 9 times. It goes in 9 hands before it goes out.
That's right.
In the Asian community, the dollar bill turns about 8 times. It goes through 8 hands before it goes out the community. And in the Hispanic community, my Hispanic brothers and sisters, the dollar bill turns anywhere between 2 to 3 times before it goes out the community. But in my community, our communities, the dollar bill doesn't turn not 1 time. Yet last year, we made enough money in 1 physical year to buy NBC, ABC, and CBS in just 1 physical year. So it's not a money problem. It's a literacy problem.
Yes.
A lack of financial education. And by me studying and learning the history of finance in America, my mission has been to help disenfranchised people, and it cross color barriers, disenfranchised people wherever they are. I want to make sure that I spread the message of financial education everywhere, because right now in America, as you and I speak, the average American is about 1 to 2 paychecks away from being homeless, and 1 out of 3 in debt, in one of the richest countries. But yet, it's not a money problem, it's a literacy problem. So I coined myself as the financial gentleman is because I want to make sure that I get finance to people in a very user-friendly way. Because when it's all said and done, it's really about the basics.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that every family empower themselves to pursue their purpose in the areas of financial education, which means make sure that we turn life insurance policies into our family bank. A lot of people don't know that the word.
Hold on, say that again. Say that again, because I want people to get that.
We have to turn life insurance policies into our family bank.
Yes.
And the reason I'm saying this is because the average American, when you say life insurance, they think about death. But the true meaning of life insurance is to transfer wealth, wealth transformation.
Yes.
And right now, as we speak, when I talked about the average American being 1 to 2 paychecks away from being homeless and 1 out of 3 in debt, the question is, what is our current generation going to pass to the next generation? I can answer that, nothing. So we have to use life insurance as a vehicle to transfer wealth to the next generation. Now, when we go back in history, we see that Ray Kroc started McDonald's with monies out of a life insurance policy. Here in Southern California, Walt Disney is documented, started money out of a life insurance policy. So now we see that the rich and the wealthy use life insurance to carry them, and the average American use it to bury them. So I want to make sure people use life insurance policies as their family bank, because not only are you getting compounding interest, also you can leverage your money and borrow against your own money without even using your money. And when you study the greats and you study people like Warren Buffett, you'll see that he has about 65 billion in insurance. And this is what happens from generation to generation. They're just transferring wealth. But we're taught to go to school, get a good job, get out, save our monies in the bank. The same bank that we save money in doesn't even save our money. So we have to really, really start learning about financial education, because if we don't, we will be disenfranchised. So my mission is to educate as many people as possible. And I'm looking for people primarily who are disenfranchised.
Yes.
Just to empower them. And if they have $100 to save, show them how to set their families up. So we have everything we need. The only thing that's lacking is a lack of financial education. So my mission is really not to make money, it's really to educate people.
I love it. 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 And for the person who is in this climate that we're in our economic climate, we're, dealing with recession, we're dealing with loss of jobs, AI technology taking over. Why is the financial industry maybe the best industry for a person to consider getting involved in?
Well, you know this for a fact that the financial industry is a $45 trillion industry. It creates the most millionaires. But we go to school in America for 14 years. We learn nothing about credit, real estate, how money works. So if you get this, it has to be internal.
Yes.
So it comes from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So I always tell people the financial industry is a great industry to get involved in for a few reasons. First, it empowers you, and you're going to learn a lot. And not only that, you can put yourself in a position where you can recession-proof yourself because of what it pays. And also, it's a vehicle to be able to help a lot of people. And I always tell people this: today is dangerous just to have one job, because the average American has at least 2 jobs, and the average millionaire has multiple streams of income. So I think the financial industry is an ideal place to start, especially for minorities, because the information that you're going to receive, you don't get it in college. So that's what it's all about. So it's like a very underserved industry that has a lot of opportunity. So right now is the time to really, really get involved. That's what I would say.
What's your Rory? What's your heartfelt advice to individuals who do not prepare for their future, let alone their retirement? What advice would you give those individuals who are not preparing for the end game?
I would say that you're in the best place. That sounds a little crazy. You're in the best place. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because most people, they don't plan to fail, but they fail to have a plan.
Right.
So if you don't have a plan right now, you can put together a plan and you can really get over a lot of the hurdles that you feel that's in front of you. Because I'll tell people this just to encourage people. Today I'm in Southern California. To get a decent home, that's like $700,000. And most Americans, they carry debt. They don't cover debt. And that's what I love about the financial industry. See, there's a big difference between carrying debt and covering debt. You see, it takes anywhere between 15 to 30 years to pay for a home. Now they're talking about 40 years loans.
Right.
However, the average American carries debt for 15 years to 30 years when they should be covering it. Just to give you an example, if the home costs $700,000, I can use life insurance as a vehicle to cover my debt. I don't have to carry it. And I'm paying pennies on the dollar to cover that $700,000. Once again, if something happens to me, the house can be paid for tax-free dollars given to the family. So everything is all about generational wealth. I'll go right back to life insurance because so many of us look at life insurance as someone passing or dying when it's really to transfer wealth. So especially if you have kids, young kids, you know, we have so many $1 million potential babies out there, but we have to just start with a plan. So the person that's out there that's confused, they don't have a lot of money, if you put together a plan for your future, you can turn the ship around. It's so important to put together a plan. If you're in debt, that's okay. Put together a plan. Because I always tell people this, to own nothing but control everything.
Right.
Own nothing but control everything. Well, what do you mean own nothing, control everything? Well, we want to follow the trends of the rich and the wealthy. The rich and the wealthy, they don't have things in their name. They have things in their corporation or LLC name. And you can have multiple LLCs.
Right.
That's a separate entity where you can actually build credit on your LLC, leverage your LLC, and you can become your own bank. So it's really about education. See, we, by getting a lack of education, everything is all about just my social security number. I go in debt, everything is done. No, it's not done. If you're in debt, it's not done. If you have financial challenges, it's not done. But you got to have a plan. I can't overemphasize. You have to have a plan because those individuals today who have plans, they understand something. I want to just say this because I really want the listeners to listen to this. Americans right now, when it comes down to credit card debt, you talk about the average family has about $10,000 credit card debt. The average interest on that credit card debt is 24%. Think about that. America, over 31 trillion in debt. Think about that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of debt.
Yeah.
But 31 trillion versus 10,000, you don't have to have any anxiety. You can turn the ship around.
Yes.
You can turn it around, but it all starts with financial education. And you're not going to get that type of education in college.
Right.
So I encourage people to learn as much as they can when it comes down to financial literacy.
Yes.
Teach their kids financial literacy. And on another note, I hate to say this, can you imagine if inner city kids all had $1 million policies on them? Do you think we would be repeating every year someone being shot down or murdered in the streets?
Not at all.
So finance is, it is the antidote, a part of it when it comes down to our problem in our communities.
You know, I have to plug in here with our viewing audience. Listen, if you realize that you're lacking the financial education, the literacy required to create generational wealth, let alone prepare for your financial future, your retirement, you can click the link in the box below, and we will provide you with a complimentary free financial literacy session. Amen. And how to build wealth and how to reposition yourself so that you don't allow, listen to me, ignorance to rob you of your financial wealth that God has for you. So,
and I'm glad you said that because, you know, you're not alone. Who's listening right now? A lot of people are looking and listening. You're not alone. But keep this in mind. When you incorporate financial literacy in your family and you in general, it becomes a collective effort. So we're always waiting on one party to deliver us or one person to deliver us. But when you learn financial education, it empowers you and it becomes a collective effort. And that's how we pass generational wealth, through collective effort, one person at a time,
Yeah.
and educating people. So that's what it's all about. That's why I'm so excited about this crusade. I'm so excited that you listened to me and you actually became a part of the crusade. And
Right.
we just grab as many people hands as possible to bring them into this mindset, this wealth mindset, just like with a better you, man. I just love that statement. And the bottom line is that we're not trying to sell you anything, but we want to tell you how to get out of your condition. We want to show you how to transfer generational wealth.
Yes, we you know, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, real estate people. We have a lot of entrepreneurs, real estate people, business owners, people in the medical industry that are watching. And most of them, we know what's happened in the real estate industry. We know what's happened in the retail industry. Many industries are being challenged like never before. Let's talk to those individuals, specifically the entrepreneur, who knows they need to create a second or a third stream of income. Talk to those individuals and let's share with them why now is the time for them to join the financial industry, and specifically our Team Aqua.
Well, I would start off by saying this. If you are involved with real estate, crypto, trading, whatever it may be, these industries was very lucrative industries and still will be very lucrative industries in the future. However, right now in America, there's a lot of things going on. The market is very volatile. Post-pandemic, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. The financial industry is the highest paid industry right now, and it's a lot of opportunity here. But you got to really look at where you are, whether you're in real estate, crypto, trading, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, where are you parking your finances? At the end of the day. So I would say, take what you have now, learn how to use it wisely through things like infinite banking. So you can take funds and borrow against your own funds without touching your funds, leverage your money. But more so than anything, this is a great time for those individuals who are in real estate, who know how to run teams, who know how to counsel people. All those benefits of the things that they know in terms of doctors, CPAs, lawyers, whatever it may be. We need all of that to become part of this industry because
this complements what they're doing.
Exactly. It complements.
It doesn't compete with it. It complements.
Not at all. Not at all. It's just another revenue stream. You know, for instance, my own personal doctor is part of this particular crusade. It doesn't take from what he's doing. It adds to what he's doing. Right. So it's really, we need those type of individuals. We need those leaders that were in real estate and other different fields. We need those leaders. And I'm partnering up with a lot of leaders as we speak on, and it's funny because a lot of those leaders who I'm partnered up with, they're doing great. And guess what? They're representing something I showed them. So they went from a tax person to a tax person, but they're involved with showing people financial literacy, life insurance, retirement strategies, corporations, credit, all these different things just enhance their profile. And then it's tailor fit for retail people. Tailor fit. Mm-hmm.
And most of us know someone that owns a home. And if they own a home, they need a trust, they need a will, and they need to know how to
protect. And they need mortgage protection. They need mortgage protection. Right. Because like I said earlier, the average American carries debt. They don't cover debt. So we want to show you how to cover debt. Because I always tell people, what's at the morgue? Dead people. It's called mortgage.
Right.
By the time you get through paying for the home, you're closer to God. So we want to show you how to be able to cover your home for pennies on the dollar a day. So therefore, you can transfer wealth to your family and not debt. So we got to stop this cycle of poverty, cycle of debt, cycle of individualism and not learning and financial education. So just like you, man, I just really want to spread financial education as much as possible because we have everything we need. We're just not using it. We've been ill-informed.
That's right. All right. Before we close, I have 3 questions to ask you. I ask all my guests, and I modify them from guest to guest. But these are just one-liners. You can give a one-liner answer, or you can expound on it. For those who want to grow or expand their life, what should they be focused on to be their best?
Well, great question. I would say first, discover the greatness inside of you. Everyone has a gift. And I always tell people, when you find your passion, you'll find your purpose. So discover your gift. And you do that by basically having passion toward everything that you're doing. And you'll discover your gift. Once you discover your gift, you'll unlock your success.
Awesome. Second question, what causes people to fail in life or business?
Well, I think what causes people to fail is this, and you know this because we're spiritual people. Your trials, they don't come to break you. They come to make you. And most people, when trials come, they break. I encourage you not to break during that time. I encourage you to hang on in there and just know that tough times don't last, but tough people do. And once you come out your trial, it's going to take you to the next level.
Awesome. I love it. Last question. As a business mogul, millionaire, what is the secret ingredient to winning in business?
Happiness. 90% of winning is simply excitement. You got to get excited. Not only do you have to get excited, but don't get excited about other things that you see. Get excited about you, because no one is made like you. Everyone that's out there, you guys are masterpieces. And in art, one of the best rare forms of art is sculpture.
Yes.
The artists start with a rock. That rock looks ugly. But out of that rock, the artists chip away at their masterpiece. Sometimes it takes months, sometimes it takes years. But once that masterpiece is actually designed, it's for a lifetime and not a lunchtime. So I encourage you to discover the masterpiece that's inside of you and build each and every day on being a better you.
Awesome. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it right here at A Better You in the Genius Lab. Mr. Rory Douglas, world-renowned financial gentleman, my brother, thank you so much for joining me today. And of course, you can you'll find the link to Rory's office, which I'm a part of his team. You can connect with us so that we can schedule a complimentary financial literacy session, literacy session for you to build wealth. Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me once again. And God bless you and the family and the First Lady. Thank you for the opportunity.
Amen. Till the next time.
Thank you for tuning into A Better You program with Anthony McFarland.